Hey friend, have you ever heard the term grapes of wrath? Did you know that when grapes are harvested, it's during the summer? June, July, August, and September? Yeah, you can find this chart called, it's Harvesting and Gathering. The book is by Oded Borowski, Oded, last name Borowski, Borowski, and the book is called Agriculture in Iron Age Israel. It was published in 1987, and I'm going to give you a rendering of the chart that you can find on page 37 that I just copied by hand. This may give you some reference point for the fact that God says to gather the wheat into my barn first. When do the grapes of wrath come? After. If you look carefully, you can notice here that on the left I have the crop, and then underneath the word crop you see wheat, barley, oats, peas, chickpeas, lentils, vetch. If you look to the right of the word wheat that you have circled, also May is circled at the top of the chart, you'll notice that wheat is itself harvested in May. In this image, you can see that I've revealed more of the chart, showing you that grapes are gathered in June, July, August, and September.
Next, we're going to be looking at some passages that deal with the harvesting of wheat and grapes.
Micah 7:1 reads, "Woe is me, for I am like those who gather summer fruits, like those who glean vintage grapes. There is no cluster to eat of the first ripe fruit which my soul desires."
Joel 3:13 tells us, "Put in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, go down, for the winepress is full. The vats overflow, for their wickedness is great." Mark chapter 4, verse 29, "But when the grain ripens, immediately he puts in the sickle, because the harvest has come." Revelation 14:14, "Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, 'Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe.' So he who sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Then another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, who had power over fire, and he cried with a loud cry to him who had the sharp sickle, saying, 'Thrust in your sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe.' So the angel thrust his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God."
Hey friend, did you know that the name Fauchi in Italian means sickle? Yeah, ruminate on that.
Friend, I'm going to ask you to go to Google or whatever search engine that you use and type in Anthony S. Fauci Family Tree Abyss. You're going to look for the link that's located at archive.org. You want to download that PDF document. The document, when you open it, is going to look like this. Obviously, you'll be able to increase the size on your screen so that all the data is legible for you. It also contains a timeline beneath that. This particular screenshot I acquired at another location, but it details the generation of Fauci's grandparents on both sides, both his father and his mother's side. I'd like you to take note that on his mother's side, she comes from a family with the last name Abyss. Her maiden name is Abyss. This is the family crest for Dr. Fauci's mother's side of the family. Notice it is a serpent with a crown eating a young child. The serpent itself is carrying a black yoke that balances 2 containers filled with gold. This is satanic symbolism. This is Dr. David E. Martin. I'm going to be sharing a short video with you where he talks about Dr. Fauci and how much was spent on gain of function research. Please pay very close attention.
I want this number to stick in your head because this number, unfortunately, was cut out of the movie. It's been cut out of a lot of things. So you're not going to have to cut it out of your brain because I'm going to give it to you right now. Anthony Fauci has spent, listen to this number, $191 billion, not 3.7 million, not 30 million, $191 billion of audited funds for the bioweaponization of viruses against humanity. And it's your money that has been spent, $191 billion. And do you think you can get any agency or oversight body or any politician to even take that investigation on, despite the fact that we have every grant recipient, every person, their address, their phone number, their laboratory? We literally have the entirety of where that money went, and not a single investigation agency in this country is willing to look.
Because they have become corrupted beyond measure. Not only have they stolen our tax dollars, they have weaponized our tax money against us. Not just the US, but many nations have acted in the very same manner.
This is a bioweapons program designed to kill us. That's what it is. And it's not just designed to kill us, it's designed to kill massive numbers of the population. We do not have a virus, we have a biological weapon.
Friend, over thousands of years ago, the creator of heaven and earth, Yahuwah, created everything through his spirit, who had become flesh. Yahusha, Yeshua in Aramaic, the one many called Jesus. Friend, there is a message that he encoded within the text of the Bible for us to find. I no longer believe in coincidences, not from the plain meaning of the text, nor the hidden. I'd like you to pay close attention to what this Bible code has to say about Dr. Fauci, gain of function, and a biological weapon.
要的就是美国军队你打疫苗，你打了疫苗，美国军队就没了，共产党就赢了。美国军队打完疫苗，我告诉你，疫苗基本上就不会再打了。当美国的精英社会因为恐惧没有信仰，怕死，还有这些流氓低级政治家、投机主义者，为了不担责任，特别是华尔街呀、好莱坞明星啊、白宫啊。军队打了药以后，你放心，没有疫苗的事儿。执行打疫苗的人基本上也就快完了，推动打疫苗的人基本上也达到目的了，不会再推了，一定就会有解药，解药就出来了。解药出来是干啥的？不是解你疫苗的，不让你再传染病毒了，但不解疫苗。打疫苗的你就等死去吧，疫苗的药还在共产党手里边呢，那我就让你死了，我干嘛给你解药
COVID vaccine turns out it's back in the news.
Republican Party leaders on the Space Coast are minutes away from officially calling on the governor and other state leaders to ban mRNA-based COVID vaccines immediately. I-Team Chief Investigator Mike Magnoli has more on what exactly is going on. Mike.
Good evening, everybody. Well, in their own words, the leaders of Brevard County's GOP say that they believe the vaccines are a biological weapon. As you say, this is the executive committee of the party in Brevard. They haven't hit send on this letter yet, but that vote coming up at 6:30, and I'm told it's very likely going to pass. If it does, they're asking state leadership to make it illegal to give or to take mRNA vaccines in Florida. In this 4-page letter, complete with footnotes, Brevard County Republicans cite sources which led them to a stunning conclusion. Here it is in their own words. Government agencies, media, and tech companies, and other corporations have committed enormous fraud by claiming COVID-19 injections are safe and effective. Strong and credible evidence has recently been revealed that COVID-19 and COVID-19 injections are biological and technological weapons. If approved, this letter will be sent to Tallahassee at a time when a grand jury requested by Governor DeSantis is investigating those very same vaccines.
You're suing Pfizer for misleading claims on the COVID vaccine, sir. Round of applause for you on this. What's this about? What's your case?
Well, the case is that Pfizer violated the Kansas Consumer Protection Act. And by the way, all 50 states have some version of a Consumer Protection Act. And while the federal government gave all the vaccine manufacturers immunity from normal tort suits, where someone who's injured would sue the company seeking damages for their injury, the federal government did not give the vaccine manufacturers license to misrepresent or state things that they knew to be false when trying to push their product. And that's what this lawsuit is about. They made multiple misrepresentations, including saying it was safe for pregnant women, when Pfizer was well aware of the many risks to pregnant women. And they had information in their possession, not only of causing, grave problems for pregnant rats, but they also had information as early as February 2021 on 458 pregnant women. And they knew that there were complications, including miscarriages in over 10% of the cases. Just think about that. A person dies in every miscarriage, and yet they proceeded to advertise it as safe for pregnant women. So the lawsuit is about misrepresenting their product.
Yeah, no, that is shocking to me. Well, Attorney General Chris Kobach, I really appreciate you doing this, filing that suit, and the briefs for the Chevron case. Outstanding work, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of reducing population growth, that's this big benefit. The key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health.
In the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
I would like to reduce the number of people on the planet because there's too many of us.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population,
Wait. What the?
More of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that. We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
What the?
So in the next 5 to 10 years, for the next pandemic, we'll solve all those problems.
You say the next pandemic. There will be another pandemic.
Absolutely. We don't know when.
History teaches us that the next pandemic is a matter of when, not if.
We know what's next. We're going to have another major coronavirus pandemic before the end of this decade, before 2030.
If we really want to prevent the next pandemic, and there will be one, there will absolutely be an outbreak of another pandemic. It may be next year.
We need more money to plan for the second pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic.
The best data we have comes out of the UK and Israel. And I have to keep saying this to people because they almost don't believe it. In the UK, 70+% of the people who die now from COVID are fully vaccinated. And in Israel, that was
70%?
70%. 7 in 10 of the people, I'm going to keep saying it because nobody believes it, but the numbers are there in the government documents, okay? They're not a secret. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not somebody saying, oh, I heard this from my cousin. It's in British government document from the UK, Public Health England. If you Google variants of concern, UK technical briefing. Here it is. Okay. These are people who've died. Fully vaccinated people who have died. There were 1,270 fully vaccinated people who died out of 1,500 in the over 80 category.
But this is under 14 days before specimen
No. Over. Second dose greater than 14 days means I am fully vaccinated by anybody's definition. I want everyone to see is that the vast majority of people in Britain who died in September were fully vaccinated. 1,270 out of 1,500 were fully vaccinated. 607 of the 70-year-olds out of 800 were fully vaccinated. 258 out of the 411 60-year-olds, they were almost all fully vaccinated. Most people who die of this now are fully vaccinated in the UK. Those are the numbers.
There were 138 companies that were involved in manufacturing and distributing the vaccine. They're all military contractors. The Pentagon and the National Security Agency ran the entire pandemic response. Pfizer and Moderna don't really own those vaccines. You know, they slapped their labels on them, but it was a Pentagon project.
Fellow Americans.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans.
And soon, they will be available to everyone. The science is clear. These vaccines will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
They could save your life.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you. That's the first step to ending the pandemic and moving our country forward. It's up to you.
Why wouldn't you take the vax? You had a direct order to take it. You were told to take it.
Yeah, I'm not real good with direct orders, but on a whole nother note,
but it was a command.
I
mean, they told. I'm sorry, they told you. I mean, they couldn't have been clearer about it.
Yeah, it was pretty clear. Did you take it?
Of course not.
Yeah, no, it wasn't ready. You know, it was 6 month. Kind of rush job. And I didn't feel safe.
But they told you were safe.
I know what they said. I know what they said. And I heard them. I heard them loud and clear. But it's not their decision. There's no repercussions if they're wrong. But I get all the repercussions if they're wrong.
Was it a tough call for you?
No, it wasn't a tough call. I wanted to be an example for my kids. Really make sure they didn't take it either. Show them that I wanted to stand on my convictions and that I was willing, to lose $9 million and more because we've probably lost more, since then.
The idea is that people who stand on their convictions are heroes. They're brave. They have principles. They're the people we look to for inspiration. But in this case, with this decision and these principles, you were not hailed as a hero.
No.
You were attacked.
So why won't you get the vaccine, man? Hey, look, man, I'd just rather be myself than take that vaccine like you other 3 billion bozos.
I never told anyone not to get vaccinated publicly. That was never my message to the world. I didn't even want people to know whether I got vaccinated or not. I was pretty upset that even came out because I was just gonna quietly, just not take it and deal with the consequences as they came.
Do you know anyone who was injured by the vaccine?
I do, and they suffer every day, and it's hard to watch. Suffering in silence is not the answer all the time. Sometimes you gotta let people know what's going on so you can actually move the needle. I choose to be vocal. If it's true, why can't I say it?
Well, you can't say it because it is true.
There it is. Now that's the problem with the world today.
There's no penalty for lying. No one's ever punished for lying. It's only telling the truth that gets you in trouble.
Ain't that something?
That's true.
Yeah, that is so true.
I regret getting the vaccine, even though I'm a 52-year-old woman, because I don't think I needed it. I think I would have been fine. I'd got COVID many times, and it was well past when the vaccine was doing what it was supposed to be doing. And then for the first time, I tested positive for an autoimmune issue at my annual physical. And I went to the best rheumatologist in New York, and I asked her, do you think this could have to do with the fact that I got the damn booster and then got COVID within 3 weeks? And she said, yes, I wasn't the only one she'd seen that with.
The clinical trials were fraudulent. There are court cases ongoing right now. The manufacturing was fraudulent. They didn't do the production R&D required. It would take at least 2 years to do that. That means the regulatory authorizations were fraudulent. So FDA and CDC, the European Medicines Agency, the MHRA in Britain, they've all behaved fraudulently, pretty much by closing their eyes and just rubber stamping it. So they've not been tested, they're not safe, they don't work, they could never have worked in the elderly, and yet they are toxic. And then I talked at length, and I won't bore you with it again, that the very design of them could not have been more dangerous. They picked the only part of this purported pathogen, the spike protein, to express in your bodies. Your bodies are turned into a spike protein factory, and spike proteins are definitely acutely toxic in loads of different ways. Autoimmunity, blood clots, neurological problems, impacts on fertility, and so on. So I've told you that they've created the impression of a scare. They've smashed the economy and civil society using useless measures. They've got you to wait for a rushed so-called vaccine that was not shown to be effective or safe, that never could have worked, even if the original setup about a viral threat was correct. And yet they've jabbed, 4 billion, 6 billion poor souls. Something like 1 in 1,000 people have died. We don't know how many more will die, but we're into double figures of millions who've definitely been killed as a consequence of this policy. And that tells you that the people who are doing this are ruthless, I would say diabolical. We're beyond good and wrong and right. Okay, we're in the good versus evil. I've not been a religious person, but I'm absolutely clear in my mind the only people, the kind of planning and thinking it takes to have done what has happened, are people who would worship Satan. They're not normal people. I couldn't do one part of this and continue to be alive after I've done it.
Vaccines sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get responses that are pretty high, including the J&J and the Pfizer. And so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are
Bill,
going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data better than I do. But the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where it's just super painful. But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects. The FDA, I think, will do a good job of that, despite the pressure.
So in the session we just attended here at the Economic Forum, I think there was a sense of relief, actually, in your frankness. You brought up some issues that others are reluctant to bring up.
Always. All the religious groups are against me because I'm talking about population. They want more souls. I want less on the planet.
I have no recollection. I'm sorry, would you repeat the question? What's the question again? I'm not sure. I don't recall anything from that phone call. I don't recall. I may have, but I don't recall. I don't specifically remember.
Do you recall that?
I don't recall. I don't recall this. If you show me this now and ask me the question, do you recall this? I'd have to say I don't recall. I don't recall. It's possible, but I don't recall. I'm not sure. Not specifically that I can recall. Again, it's not something that rings a bell with me that I would remember. I don't recall ever, not to my knowledge. I don't know if they did. I don't recall specifically. Again, I don't recall. It may have occurred, but I don't recall. I don't recall him saying that. I don't specifically recall. I don't recall. But I don't recall.
That it's really fulfillment of a dream that we had together with my leadership team when we started in 19. The first week we met in January of 19 in California and to set up the goals for the next 5 years. And one of them was by 2023 we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. Reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. Reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. I think today this dream is becoming reality.
So it's really a purpose-driven company.
There are 1,260 listed adverse events reported to Pfizer from the test subjects. Bill Gates said that some of them are minor, not serious. He lied. People died.
we're going to take a wild virus and we're going to make it more pathogenic, more virulent, more deadly, and then we're going to develop a vaccine for that. And that's classic gain-of-function research. Why are they doing that? What is the rationale for them doing that? The only real rationale, if you think about it, is to develop bioweapons and then develop a defense to those bioweapons. So that's what they were doing, and Anthony Fauci was given a 68% raise by the military because of these new military responsibilities. He continued to do that to 2014. And that year, 3 of the bugs escaped. In high-profile escapes from 3 different labs in the United States, really deadly bugs escaped or were found in unsafe circumstances. And 300 scientists sent a letter to President Obama asking him to shut down Anthony Fauci's research on gain-of-function, saying that it was highly likely that he would start a global pandemic with this kind of very dangerous research. And President Obama issued a moratorium and shut down 18 of the worst projects by Anthony Fauci, or ordered them shut. In the end, he really didn't shut them. He instead moved the research offshore, where he would be out of the oversight of these troublesome scientists, the 300 scientists, a group that called itself the Cambridge Working Group, and of White House officials. And the major lab offshore that they moved this research, there were other ones too. They moved research to Ukraine, to the former Soviet state of Georgia. But some of the worst research they moved to a Chinese lab that was run by the Chinese military, the Wuhan lab in Wuhan, the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China. So they're never going to market a vaccine, allow people access to a vaccine, an approved vaccine, without getting liability protection. Now, the emergency use authorization vaccines have liability protection under the PrEP Act and the CARES Act. So as long as you take an emergency use, you can't sue them. Once they get approved, now you can sue them, unless they can get it recommended for children.
What?
Because all vaccines that are officially recommended for children, get liability protection, even if an adult gets that vaccine. That's why they're going after kids. They know this is going to kill and injure a huge number of children, but they need to do it for the liability protection.
Organization known as Deagle, which predicts historically population growth, is predicting a mass population decline between now and 2025. Not 2030, not 2050, 2025, just around the corner. They are predicting staggeringly a population decline, a population drop of 77% in the UK and 68% in the USA, and approximately 34 to 35% in Australia and New Zealand. There's no explanation for these figures, and Deagle are not known for their conspiracy theories. So where are our mainstream media organizations? Where is Reuters? Where is the Associated Press? Where is Channel 10, Channel 9, the 7 Network, SBS, ABC, the BBC, NBC, MSNBC, CNN? Where are you all? Why are you not questioning these figures and trying to explain them to the public? There are American college football teams, kids essentially, who are cancelling the rest of their football season because of a lack of healthy players. We live in a world, whether you live here down under or up in the UK and in Europe or over in the USA, we now live in a world where we are peppered with the sounds of ambulances. Something is going horribly wrong, and we can't just see it and hear it with our own senses. We can now read about it on official projected figures. If this is the modelling that our bureaucrats were referring to pre-pandemic, we should be very concerned that not a single so-called elected bureaucrat is giving us any explanation for it.
And yet, despite the fact that we've now essentially clinically tested the vaccine on billions of people worldwide,
we have 33 confirmed positive tests.
We have 33 Pennsylvanians who have tested positive for COVID-19.
Today we have 33 cases.
There were 33 new cases.
The state of Minnesota today reported 33 new COVID-19 related deaths.
There are 33 confirmed cases in Arkansas.
That's the largest single-day increase so far, raising the total to 33.
33.
There were 33 confirmed cases in North Carolina.
33.
There was 33 everywhere.
Yes.
I think that was Red Team Go. I think 33 is like Red Team Go. Everybody goes, okay, let's do it. It's time.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude, there's like literally 1,000 33s and 33 new cases. 33 people died in fucking Hong Kong.
The number 33, we all know what that represents. Everywhere, every single day, it was like, well, 12 more cases, which now brings the state to 33.
Yes.
We had 33 cases today.
Yes.
We had 11 cases, which now it's 33. 33 more people. I'm going, oh my God, how dumb do you have to see to not understand this is going on? Yeah, that was green light go. We're off to the races.
Yeah. You've been subject to propaganda and lies by people who are very well trained in how they do that. And if you find one thing your government has said which is clearly not true, I ask you this: why would you believe anything else they've told you?
We'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time.
Your DNA is a right-handed double helix made up of these four things right here. And the helix is held together by sulfuric bonds that appear after every 10 pairs of nucleotides, every 5 pairs of nucleotides, every 6 pairs of nucleotides, and again, every 5 pairs of nucleotides. 10-5-6-5, 10-5-6-5, or in the Hebrew alphabet, Yod He Vav He, the signature of your creator, the signature of an artist under his painting, if you will. Now, the magic potion, if you actually read the patents, it is adding a triple helix, and it is adding more of this, which comes from a meteorite or a fallen star. And this 10-5-6-5, Yod He Vav He, the signature of your creator, quickly turns into 10-5-6-6-6-5. Do I have your attention yet?
There's a scientist that was studying the human genome, and he studied it for over 25 years. And through much study and research, what he comes to the conclusion of is the human genome is made up of the DNA, the double helix, and each side of the helix has 72,000 genes, which combined makes 144,000 genes total in the human genome. Now, for those of you that know anything about the Bible, you know that's a number God uses. So that's a signature from God right there. That's his signature. And combined, they make 144,000. They're connected in the middle, looks like a twisted ladder, the double helix. Now, this new technology they come out with introduces the third strand. Through mRNA messaging technology, it actually breaks a strand and puts in a third strand, which creates a triple helix. Go look at the Queen ceremony, you'll see what she did. She kind of told the world what was going on. Go look at the lighting strand. The Queen, I forgot the name of the festival, but the Queen lit a third strand of DNA. I mean a 3-strand of DNA, a triple helix. Anyway, so if you have 72,000 on each side of the double helix, on each side of the twisted ladder, there you have a strand that runs down the right side and one that runs down the left. One strand is the mom, one strand is the dad of that subject. And that's 72,000 per side. You add that together, you have 144,000, a signature from God, showing you are created, you are created by him. Now you add that third strand, you've placed in now another 72,000. Now you have a triple helix. Now people say, well, this thing that's going around the entire world that everybody's choosing to get is not the mark. Well, let's look at that number. 72,000 per side for the natural genome is 144,000. Add the third strand in, it equals up to 216,000. The number of the beast is 666, or as the Bible states, 600, 6. Now, multiply this. 600 times 60 times 6 equals 216,000.
Friend, I just want to thank you for coming this far with me. I know that my videos aren't always easy. Sometimes I use music and images because you can tell 1,000 words with an image. On a serious note, if you haven't been vaccinated, do not become vaccinated. Do not let your children become vaccinated. Warn your friends, your family, your loved ones, your co-workers, your priest. Friend, we are further along in the book Revelation than many of you are going to be comfortable with. Now is the time to turn to Yeshua. It's only going to get more difficult from here on out. It's going to get more violent. There will be a false peace. Do not be deceived by the false peace. Antichrist is coming, and so is great tribulation.
Why Christians? Remember, the Soviet Union made a statement that we could control all of our entire population except the Christians. And they had to put them in prison and in gulags. And I remember in 1994 when I was in the CIA, we ordered into a conference room. We all filed in. There's about 30 of us. And our division chief starts off by saying, now don't get mad at me, I'm just the messenger. This comes down from the director of the CIA. You can no longer say Merry Christmas in any CIA office space. You cannot have a manger scene on your desk or on your door, or you will face administrative penalties. And the sad part was only 2 of us, our jaws dropped. Like, what? And the CIA was actively against Christians, and they used DEI as a method to suppress them. And I remember it was Christmas Eve, and I walked out. I thought about this, prayed about this overnight, and I said, oh, no, you don't. So I walked out on New Year's Eve, and I turned around to everybody, and I said, good night, and by the way, Merry Christmas. I'm like, there is a line you don't cross. Well, there was an outrage from the CIA populace, and as evil people always do, when they got resistance, they backed off and said, well, never mind, But it has been Christianity, because the Christians are the only ones that will not answer to tyranny. We believe in God and a higher power, and we will not be manipulated by a tyrannical regime. And that's why Christians are despised around the world, including in this previous administration, my goodness. And going back to Obama, how they attacked Christians and eliminated the religious freedom post at the Department of State, and on and on and on it went. But that's the reason.
I understand this has been pretty heavy for you, so I'd like to give you something a little less heavy. One of the things I love about Paul in the New Testament is that he says to test all things. Well, that includes conspiracy theories too, my friend. They're not a conspiracy theory if it's true. It's just a conspiracy. And we have been surrounded by a lie. We have been fed a lie for most of our lives. And that lie is that we're free. We're not free. There are princes and principalities of this world that we cannot see. And they are in rebellion against the true and living God, seeking to destroy his creation and everything that he loves within it. Study hard, my friends. Study hard. Make yourselves ready, because the time is short. Study hard to show yourself approved, a workman able to rightly divide the word of truth.
The decision we made to go all out and develop a vaccine may have been the best decision that I've ever made as the director of the Institute.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter. Gorgeous, make them drop dead, you a killer. Shower you with all my attention. Yeah, these are my only intentions. Stay in the kitchen cooking up, got your own bread. Heart full of equity, you're an asset. Make sure that you don't need no mentions. Yeah, these are my only intentions. Stay in the kitchen cooking up, got your own bread. Heart full of equity, you're an asset. Make sure that you don't need no mentions. Yeah, these are my only intentions.
No cap, no pretending, you don't need mentions. Got them saying goals, they don't wanna be independent. Tell them to mind your business, we in our feelings. It's 50% attention, we need commitment. We gotta both admit it, it's funny we both listen. It's a blessing, cause we both get it. You the best thing, and I don't need a witness. I'ma find me a ring and pray it's perfect fit it. Perfect.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter. Gorgeous, make them drop dead, you a killer. Shower you with all my attention. I will. Yeah, these are my only intentions. Stay in the kitchen cooking up, got your own bread. Heart full of equity, you're an asset.
And we are just getting word of this now. Regarding the COVID vaccine, the CDC is now saying there has been enough cases of people who have had the vaccine, received the vaccine, and then suffered a stroke.
The real danger is in the people who have not been vaccinated.